Some of the struggles with feedback that I had was kind of getting feedback from the CRM perspective and their creative taste versus what the client wanted versus what, I had created, and does it align with what they're looking for, whether that be, okay, this post is more for brand awareness, or like this is an educational post. Like we really do, some of our clients have a more educational feel, and just kind of the different alignments there, I think could be a little bit difficult, especially like we had one of mine was a nonprofit. So theirs was very different from a service-based industry versus roofing versus flooring, whatever that may be.
Welcome back to Torch Talk, the show where we spotlight bold leaders, growing businesses, and communities with grit and purpose. Today's guest is Cortney Christian, Client Relationship Support at Fierce, also known as Lindsey's go-to girl, my girl. We'll talk about Cortney's journey to Fierce, how finding the right person in the right seat shaped her path, and what it was like transitioning from a social media coordinator role into a client relationship. We'll also share how teamwork, faith, and support have played a key role along the way. So welcome to Torch Talk, Cortney.
Thank you.
We know you're so excited to be here today.
Yes.
Okay, so in preparation for this episode, we've been discussing a little bit about what we want to talk about. So let's go back to the beginning and talk about how you found Fierce and what drew you to want to work here.
So I kind of knew of Fierce since the beginning. So Dylan, who's our web developer, him and I have grown up together, gone to church together our whole lives, family friends. So kind of knew that from him kind of being here towards the beginning of Fierce as well. And then went to high school with Taylor, went to college with Kelsey and Lexi, who was previously here. So kind of knew some Fierce team members and was aware of Fierce, but was looking for a different role change with what was going on in my life and a little bit closer to home. So yeah, that's kind of when I found Fierce. And at the time, social media position was open, and so we interviewed with Rachel and had that first initial phone call interview with her, and that went well. But at the time, I had originally applied for CRM, and social wasn't open yet. And CRM, you were in the process of hiring somebody for that and had a really good lead for that. And then so kind of the way things fell, Rachel was like, okay, we can't really offer you CRM, but we do have a social position. Is that something that you would be interested in? And they said, sure, why not? It's a foot in the door. Let's try, see where it goes. So, yeah.
What was your degree in?
So hospitality management was my major, and then marketing was my minor. So I did have some marketing background, did do some social media in previous roles, used Canva, did some social media scheduling when I worked at Ashland University for their catering department. As well as when I worked at the chamber, did some graphic design of Canva and stuff there too.
Okay, so when you started at Fierce, tell me, what was it like to start in as a social media coordinator, and talk us through what that role was like for you, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah, I had a lot to learn. So definitely, taking some Canva courses, taking some different courses with that, learning. I had experience using Asana previously, which is our kind of task system. So that was familiar with Google. I used to use G Suite and all those things. So that was good, but just kind of learning how to schedule things, how to create things. I was good at doing like the graphic posts, the static posts, but Reels were not my strong suit. So that was definitely something Garrett had to work with me quite a bit on, was using CapCut and learning how to use that and kind of do that video creation and just kind of grike from there. And Taylor obviously was a great resource for that. Is very experienced and knowledgeable, and really leaning on my other social media coordinators to also help me and get their feedback.
I know we talked a lot about in the interview process, we do talk a lot about getting feedback and hard feedback.
Yes.
But what was that actually like once you actually started digging into it? You didn't have as much experience, and then you're creating every single day, and that creation's getting tore apart.
Yeah.
So how does that feel?
Some of the struggles with feedback that I had was kind of getting feedback from the CRM perspective and their creative taste versus what the client wanted versus what, I had created, and does it align with what they're looking for, whether that be, okay, this post is more for brand awareness, or like this is an educational post. Like we really do, some of our clients have a more educational feel, and just kind of the different alignments there, I think could be a little bit difficult, especially like we had one of mine was a nonprofit. So theirs was very different from a service-based industry versus roofing versus flooring, whatever that may be. Definitely hard to kind of grasp that certain things connected with a lot better than others.
Mm-hmm. So you were in that role for about a year, and we had given you a fair amount of feedback.
Yeah.
And kind of realized towards the end of the year, like there are certain areas where you were very strong. So like when we were looking at your role, at you and your work and what you did well, we have, for example, a very technical client.
Yes.
Who has a lot of content, and you did a very good job organizing a ton of videos into like a Google spreadsheet and tracking what was used and what was not used. And honestly, when I would look at it, my brain would want to explode because I don't want to organize things in that way. And so in sort of reviewing, like we knew we were going to have like a harder conversation with you about like, okay, we have some strengths and weaknesses. Here we have kind of come to a crossroads where we need to decide like what does this road forward look like, and conversely we had somebody in an assistant role that was also struggling. And so from a leadership team perspective, we were sitting here going, okay, we have this person over here who's actually not really good at this and kind of has a natural affinity and draw towards social, and then we have Cortney who has more of an administrative. So where you really excelled on the social media side was the details and the organizing and keeping track of content, and saw what might have been a natural switch, but we hadn't really talked to anybody about it yet. So we approached you after, you know, our review and kind of brought up the conversation. So I guess what we had talked about is I think sometimes business owners, we hear all the time, right person, right seat, but it's really hard to know how to actually do that.
Yeah.
I think you always feel like coach them up, coach them out is something that you hear a lot, and there's different types of coaching styles there. But for a business owner or leader listening, tell them what it's like from your perspective on being approached from a leadership team. Like, hey, we think that we might have a better seat for you. And what does that feel like to walk through that process?
I think intentions matter. I think just being clear with them and saying like, look, we really do like you here at the company. You are a good fit culturally, and you do have strengths that we see that can be utilized in another way, and just kind of approaching that and not saying, you didn't say that I had to do that either. It was more of a choice, a conversation, more of a choice like, hey, we feel that you would be better fit in this. How do you feel about that? And just having a conversation and just saying, look, this, and it made sense. And when we had that conversation, that was my initial like, yeah, you're right. Like, let me think about this a little bit more, but you're right. That's kind of the conclusion we came to, is like, it does make sense for me to do this because I'm tend to be a people person, and I like going to the client meetings, and I do like the detail organization and keeping all of those things. And so this role is a lot more of that, going with you to all those meetings and keeping track of what's being said. And I'm always a person that, like, that's the weird thing about me, I guess, is that I'm always a person that remembers stuff. And not
you remember weirdest things. You could do an entire podcast of the weird facts Cortney is Oh, sometimes I'll be like once. Or we should do an entire podcast on just the questions Cortney asks in the middle of the day.
Right.
And what that looks like then practically is we do our reviews based off of core values, but then there's specific things to do for each role that apply to the core values. So we were missing the mark on the social media side just based on
the technical side of things. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Switching to the CRM assistant role, we just recently did a 6-month review on that position to have a check-in, like, how are we doing now, having you settled in, and your review is much more positive, right?
Switch, yes.
Yes. So it's a big switch. And so that has been a positive experience for you. That's been a positive experience for Lou, who's, you know, the person that you switch roles with, and for us, because we were able to retain 2 employees who were maybe struggling in the roles that they were in. And like you said, you're a core values fit. Yeah. You're a good part of the team, just maybe not a skills fit for the jobs that you were actually assigned in at all times. So we're calling this a success. We'll see. We'll see, everybody. It's still
in question.
By the way, you're getting too comfortable.
We're a year and a half in. I don't know.
They don't know. You think if you're safe.
Thanks, Liz. Perfect. So you look great.
So one of the things we're talking about now that we know that you're in a good place and we're headed in the right direction is what's in the future for you. And I didn't know asking what's in the future for you would like create such an anxiety. I have no idea what I want to do with my life. But let's just talk about what are some of the things you're excited to learn or experience now that you're in the role, in the park that you're in.
Yeah, I think diving deeper into what we do here at Fierce and getting behind a lot more of like the data focus and understanding and going to those meetings with the clients. Because right now I'm kind of in like the support, obviously, role. And just kind of you're leading the meetings, or Julia or Robin, and I'm just kind of that support person. And I do know what's going on, but not to the extent that you guys do. And just being a little bit more involved with that and taking on more ownership of managing those clients and being able to go to those and be confident in that as well, and not just be, oh, I'm here to support and document and do all the things, but actually like own that role and be able to be in that a little bit further, which I think is kind of where we're heading, is more of the client relationship role / some of those projects that we do as well, taking this on.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see you fully experience a year in the position. You have gone through budgeting. I can't wait to go through budgeting season next year with you being more experienced.
Doing about this.
Well, more like you did a lot of reach out and stuff this year, but you'll have a better idea how to proactively organize and prepare us in advance and putting things in front of us before we're thinking about it. So to be able to go through an entire year cycle with a client, really building off that knowledge, I'm really excited about that. So, and honestly grateful for the support, because you help keep things on track, even when you're asking the randomest questions, or you start typing and stop listening to what I say and then ask me a question that I just answered right. Which does happen sometimes.
Yeah.
Like you're really good at details until you're typing, and then you have a hard time and typing and listening at the same time.
I see two of the things.
Yeah. All right. Well, I thank you for candidly sharing with us. It's always a joy to be with you, and thanks for being on Torch Talk with me.
For reality.
Thank you for tuning into Torch Talk. If today's show inspired something in you, share it with a future change maker, colleague, or friend. Until next time, stay inspired, stay intentional, and keep your fire burning.